So 100 to 0, ooh, not very good. 3.17 seconds, 43.71 meters. That is a fair old stopping distance. Yeah, that could be much better. I was expecting it to be a little more cramped than it is here. So knee room's not great, but given that row slides forward, you can afford yourself extra space if you need to. Toe room's fine. Headroom is pretty cramped, but you do get your own air vents there, cup holders as well. So for a short distance, this would be perfectly fine for adults. For kids, you wouldn't have any dramas at all. G'day, I'm Paul, Toyota Kluger. It's a name that is kind of a mainstay in Australian SUVs, but a lot of people don't know overseas it's actually called something different. It's called the Highlander, but they can't call it the Highlander in Australia because Hyundai calls their cars the Highlander. So this is the Kluger for the Australian market. And this is the top spec. Toyota's actually killed all the other variants they used to have and now just do hybrid for the Kluger. It had a price increase as well. So this one here, the top spec Kluger Grande all-wheel drive, is now priced at over $80,000 before your on-road costs, which is big old chunk of money. If that is too expensive, the entire range kicks off at just over $60,000. So you're cutting back on a lot of equipment, but you're still getting the hybrid drivetrain. So today we're going to do a detailed review of this car. So if you're doing a skip ahead to other parts of the review, you got the time codes on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and use the chapters below. Now your optional colors are actually not expensive. They're all under $1,000, which is great news. This white has like a pearlescent color effect inside it, which I think looks pretty good. Grande gets chrome highlights. You can see around the grille there, all chromed. Blue Toyota badge, which signifies that this is a hybrid. They are actually moving away from this. I have seen some of the newer updated Toyota products that sort of ditch the blue in the badge because basically all the Toyota products now are hybrid. So they're slowly moving away from that. Full LED headlights. You still have a globe in there, which is a bit old school for your indicator, which is a little bit disappointing. Fog lights down the bottom. Now, top spec gets 20-inch alloy wheels. They're like this sort of chrome finished alloy wheel. A little bit much for some, but you know, it's not the end of the world. Over here, you've got wheel arch cladding as well. So this is all-wheel drive, but it's not really a four-wheel drive. You're not going to be able to do a great deal of off-roading in this. This is the same sort of setup that other Toyota products use, where they have basically an internal combustion engine and electric motors at the front here, and then an electric motor at the rear as well. There is no physical driveline link between them. So that gives them advantages in terms of efficiency and space efficiency inside the cabin as well. Our hybrid badge off to the side here. Again, newer Toyota products, they've gone down the path of HEV with a new sort of symbol there for hybrid. This is a slightly older badge setup that they haven't updated yet. Roof rails, you've got a panoramic glass roof there, privacy glass. Now around the back, shark fin aerial up the top. Hybrid Grande. Again, no sort of LED tail lights, which is a little bit disappointing. $80,000. You would have thought they'd deck this out in LED everything like some of their cheaper models. But anyway, Kluger badge down the bottom there as well. Now, let me know what you reckon about pricing of Kluger. Do you reckon it is too expensive? What do you reckon about the design as well? Let me know in the comments section below. Okay, so we're inside the Kluger. We'll start off with the key. You've got lock, unlock, boot, panic, and the Toyota logo, and then Kluger on the back there. It's a proximity sensing key, so you can leave that in your pocket. You've got a push button start just over here. Now, in terms of presentation, for an $80,000 car, I actually think this looks pretty good. So they've upgraded infotainment, got a digital screen ahead of the driver. It is just a really nice place to be seated, and this contrasting sort of leather color, I guess, works as well. Probably not if you've got kids. I don't know, I'm just picturing my daughter throwing her food all over the back seat there, and it kind of gives me chills just thinking about it, but it all does look quite nice and presentable, especially here with the darker wood grain. I just think it's got a classier look to it, so that's all pretty nice. In terms of your touch points, pretty much everything around here is nice and soft to the touch. How soft is it? We've got our durometer. We've tested the main surfaces in this cabin. If you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, there is a link in the description below. Now, build quality, what's it like? Give that a little shake, a little bit of movement there in the center. Not too bad there. Let's see what the door slam sounds like. That's not too bad. Let's chat infotainment. So 12.3-inch display here, 12.3-inch display ahead of the driver as well. This is Toyota's new connected infotainment system, which means it can get software updates. It's got online connectivity for maps, and it also has stuff like an SOS button here as well if you ever get stuck or in any trouble at all. Inbuilt satellite navigation, sound system for top spec Grande here, 11-speaker JBL branded, really good sound system. A lot of smartphone connectivity, so wireless Apple CarPlay. I'll show you what that looks like. It does have issues though. Okay, so I'll run you through this quick story. Had it hooked up wirelessly, drove through a toll gantry, and it started playing up immediately. My calls had like a lag, so I'd be talking to someone, but they'd hear what I was saying like 2 or 3 seconds later, by which point they were talking over me. It was just a cluster, so I had to pull over and restart it all. Then I'm like, all right, well, I just won't do wireless, I'll just plug straight in. Even with a cable, it was making like ticking noises for podcasts that I was listening to. So yeah, it's just a really weird setup, and I don't know how they could have just not tested it well enough. Could be my phone. I don't know. I've got the latest iOS version on there, so not sure. But anyway, just highly annoying. So this is what Android Auto looks like. The spec says it's wireless, but we haven't been able to get it to work wirelessly. So it is currently hooked up with a cable. Full screen integration there as well. So I'm not an Android user, so I don't know whether it has the same connectivity issues that the iPhone did, but yeah, let us know. Do you own a Kluger? Do you have any dramas with the wireless or even just wired smartphone mirroring? Let us know your thoughts. Now, over on the screen ahead of the driver here, so a bit of customization available there. You can sort of go through all the menus and change the way that it looks and what appears on either side of those dials. So I like the fact that you can sort of take control of all of that. Head-up display there as well, which gives you all the key information that you need, especially for the hybrid system. It gives you a really good indication of when it's in its eco mode and power mode, and that allows you to conserve a bit of energy if you don't need to be going flat stick, which is good. Now, safety tech, you've got autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection, an auto-dimming rear vision mirror. You've got blind spot monitoring built into your wing mirror, front and rear parking sensors, you have rear cross traffic alert. You've also got radar cruise control with a lane tracing assistant, which we're going to test a little bit later on to see how well that works, and a 360 camera. I'll show you what that looks like. There it is there. Yeah, quality is good, just not stupidly good. Actually, it's not too bad. I mean, you can kind of see what's going on there, and there's your top-down view as well. Yeah, not the worst, but could be slightly better. And this is what the horn sounds like. Now, given it's a family car, what is the practicality like? And we'll start off with your connectivity. So you've got USB-C charging down the bottom here, USB-A, and you've also got a 12-volt outlet as well. Little trap door there for passing a cable through if you do want to set a device up there while it's charging. You've got wireless phone charging in the center here as well. Bit of a weird location for it because it's on this tray that you then have to move out of the way to get access to the rest of the center console, which is a little bit strange. You've got storage down the bottom here, some storage there, some storage here as well. So look at that glove box, pretty reasonably sized too. And this center section is really deep as well. So they've done a great job here in terms of giving you places to store things. And even down here as well, near the driver's knee, you've got storage there too, which is a pretty handy addition. Now, comfort, you've got 3 zones of climate control, all automatic, 2 for the front row, 1 for your next row, and also for the rear row. You've got heated and cooled seats for the front here as well. And I'm pleased to say it was bloody hot the other day, and I had the AC running in this, and it was fantastic. It did a really good job of cooling the cabin, which is exactly what you want from a car like this in an Australian summer, so that's all good news. Now, in terms of seat adjustment, you've got electric adjustment for the driver and front passenger, so you can go forwards, backwards. Your backrest can go forwards and backwards. You've got lumbar adjustment. You can lift the front of the seat, back of the seat, and you've got seat memory as well. Steering offers both tilt and reach adjustment, and on our reach test, some of this stuff on the outer edge is a little bit hard to reach while you're driving, including the volume knob, which is all the way over on this side. I think this is a hangover from this being a US market vehicle. Now, second row, have a look at this. Look how much room I've got. Heaps of knee room, toe room is great. Headroom is reasonable, thanks to this massive roof that has to open. Yeah, there's plenty of space back here, which makes it kind of ideal as a family car because you can just load the kids in and not stress too much about it. That's where your third zone of climate is. 2 USB-C ports down the bottom. You've got window shades there. Got a center armrest here as well with a couple of cup holders there. And you can recline the seats as well if you do want to, which is pretty good. So mat pockets too. And what about our window test? Does it go all the way down? So it's auto up and down. Look at that, excellent. Now, third row, let's hop in there and see whether you can actually fit adults back there. Let's see how this works. So you can basically slide that forward and then, okay, takes a little bit of maneuvering. We'll just see what that's like. Okay, so this is insanely far back. I might actually just lift that up a bit. But so when it's in that position, you know, I was expecting it to be a little more cramped than it is here. So knee room's not great, but given that row slides forward, you can afford yourself extra space if you need to. Toe room's fine. Headroom is pretty cramped, but you do get your own air vents there. cup holders as well. So for a short distance, this would be perfectly fine for adults. For kids, you wouldn't have any dramas at all. So typically you don't really get a huge amount of room behind the third row in these sorts of vehicles. Let's see what it's like. It's actually not too bad. So you've got around 250 litres here, a little bit of storage under there, including storage for your cargo blind, which is good. Then you can expand the space by dropping your third row out of the way. Once that is out of the way, the space expands to around 550 litres. I'll show you what it looks like with the bags in there. There you go, it's actually a pretty decent sized space. And if you want the ultimate space, you can drop the second row as well. And by doing that, you afford yourself over 1,000 litres of cargo space. Okay, so we've just hit the road in the Kluger. Now this has all changed. So they used to offer a turbocharged petrol version of this, and now it is hybrid only for Australia. So pretty simplified. You've only got 3 specs effectively to choose from, and you pick whichever one you can align to your budget, I guess. So here at the top spec, over $80,000. You're talking about money where you're getting plug-in hybrid options from Mazda, you're getting 6-cylinder options from Mazda as well. So it is a big old stretch in terms of money, but it is an efficient option. So basically Toyota uses an interesting drivetrain. So under the bonnet, you've got a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine, and it pairs in this instance, because it's all-wheel drive, with 3 motor generators. 2 of those live on the front axle, 1 lives on the rear axle. And they work in unison to basically pair with that internal combustion engine to give you extra torque as required. So just on its own, the internal combustion engine makes 142 kilowatts of power. But when it pairs with the electric drivetrain, we're talking almost 200 kilowatts of power. And while torque is a little bit hard to describe in this situation because the peaks differ, they do offer a rated torque output for the internal combustion engine of around 250 Newton meters of torque. Importantly, what does that feel like behind the wheel? So you sink the boot in. Like it's not astronomical in terms of the acceleration. It's not going to get you anywhere in like lightning pace, but it gives you a gentle sort of push in the back, and it does feel like it can keep up with traffic, which is important if you've got this thing loaded with family. You're going to be adding more and more weight to the whole combination. Now, in terms of fuel economy, Toyota claims a combined average of under 6 litres per 100 Ks. We're sitting closer to the 6.5 litres per 100 K mark, so close enough to what Toyota says. Predominantly highway driving as well, so it is pretty efficient once it's on the highway. It's able to switch off on downhills, and with this particular drivetrain as well, it's able to effectively recharge the small battery that it has every single time you slow down, and that's one of the big benefits here, especially on a heavy vehicle. As you slow down, you're charging the battery, and as you get to a lower speed, you see the EV light flick on there, because when you take off, it actually takes off just using electric alone, and then as you add a bit more throttle and speed increases, it kicks the internal combustion engine on. Part of the reason that is such a fuel-efficient way to do things is that that initial sort of push that you get off the line when the vehicle is stationary requires a lot of energy. So if you're able to overcome that by using a small store of energy that you've regenerated when you brake, it means that you're kind of getting that free. It does have a small weight penalty, but that is how they're able to get such good fuel efficiency out of a vehicle that is as big as this is. I'm talking about a car that is just over 2 tons, so pretty impressive figures there. Now let's talk about ride. We've got our sine waves coming up here. We attack these at 130 k's an hour, which is the maximum speed limit in Australia, and gives us a good idea of what body control's like, especially when you're doing things like overtaking in the country. A lot of country people are going to be buying these for family duties, given there's lots of Toyota dealers in the country. So let's see how we go here. Oh, that is very not good. Yeah, it's way too soft. But you get the advantage in and around the city of having a soft and comfortable ride. But what you'll find is when you hit undulations like that out in the country, it's going to feel like it just goes forever and ever. And that's going to be amplified with more people in the vehicle as well. So if you do have a full complement of passengers, it'll really feel like it's lingering there a lot. And it's just not a comfortable way to drive. So I think they probably do need to do a little bit of work there to the suspension package to give it a bit more firmness and make it more comfortable. This is an American market vehicle, remember, where they really do like the softer, more comfortable ride as opposed to the sportier tune that we like in Australia. Okay, bumpy road time, so we do this at 90 k's an hour. This is representative of corrugations, a terrible country road. and this, it actually soaks up quite nicely. We'll see what it's like on our condensed sine wave here, which kind of replicates corrugations. Cars with quite soft suspension tend to float over these, which isn't overly good for, I think it's not too bad. The issue with cars with super soft suspension over the corrugations is that any steering inputs just cause the car to float and become unnerving over that stuff, whereas that didn't seem too terrible. Now, let's look at drive modes. You've got Sport, Normal and Economy. We'll whack it over to Sport, go for a drive around our track. We test all cars back to back in the same way, just to get a feel for what they're like when the speed picks up a little bit. Yeah, as expected, this has a fair bit of body roll there. But it sort of gets up and moves okay once you get on it. With the body roll, it's quite predictable too, so it's not really overly surprising in terms of what it's doing. And it's happy to carry that little bit of pace when you need it to as well, which is encouraging for things like overtaking. You want to know that you have that torque available. Brakes feel reasonable as well. They blend the regen from the hybrid system quite nicely with, yeah, those bumps mid-corner are definitely not the Kluger's best friend. But yeah, look, it's blending the brakes there pretty nicely. It all sort of feels pretty straightforward. So yeah, look, it's not going to win any sports car awards, but it's sort of competent enough if you do need to get on the throttle a little bit. Let's talk road noise. They've actually done a decent job with road noise. Spent a fair bit of time in this car now, especially highway driving, and I found that even on coarse chip surfaces, it's really not too intrusive within the cabin, so that's a good thing. This is how it went up against our calibrated sound meter. If you do want to see how this car compares to other cars that we've tested before, there's a link in the description below that you can follow. So visibility, what is it like? I can see clearly down the front of the car there, decent sized wing mirrors as well, and visibility out the back is pretty good. And that's despite the third row being up. I can still sort of quite clearly see out there, so on that front it's good, and decent reverse view camera too. Now, towing capacity, probably not going to be towing much, but if you do want to, you've got a 2,000 kilo brake towing capacity. Okay, time to do a little bit of lane support testing. So I'm going to set it to 70 k's an hour. We're going to use our 3 outer lanes here just to see how well it holds itself within the lane. Okay, so first lane, doing a reasonable job there. We look pretty central to that lane. All right, jump over one. Wait for that to activate. Yeah, it's sort of slowly moving its way down to that lane marker, but then it corrects itself back into the centre, so it's not too bad. All right, we'll try our outermost lane. This is the hardest one for it to actually achieve its goal in, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, that's active. No, it doesn't want to hold it there, so yeah, it's just unwilling to provide enough steering torque to hold it in that position. Okay, time to do a little bit of performance testing. So we're going to go 0 all the way through to 120, and that'll give us 0 to 100 and also our 80 to 120 overtaking time as well. So I'll pop that into sport mode, we'll switch traction control off. Okay, and let's see how we go. A bit of wheel slip off the line. Okie dokie. 80, 90, 100, and 120. All right, it took a little while to get there. Let's see how that looks. Okie dokie. So 0 to 100, 9.93 seconds. That is pretty leisurely. 80 to 120, 7.03. Yeah, not great either. I mean, yeah, almost 10 seconds to 100 k's an hour with just me in the car. You can imagine what it'd be like if we, loaded this up with passengers and all the cargo and stuff. It'd probably take a lot longer than that. So yeah, a bit surprised by it. I thought it'd be a little bit quicker. All right, let's do a stop from 100 to see what the brake and tyre package is like. All right, here we go. How that went. So 100 to 0, ooh, not very good. 3.17 seconds, 43.71 meters. That is a fair old stopping distance. yeah, that could be much better. Look, it is hot today. It's 34 degrees outside at the moment, so that is going to sort of affect the way that it can sort of pull up. But yeah, for a family SUV, you really want to be pulling up much quicker than that. I think the Sorento did like 35 metres. So to think that a Sorento will stop 8 metres short of this is, yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so how quick does it go in reverse? Let's see if it can redeem itself. Here we go. All right, so 53 kilometres an hour. Okay, so Toyota Kluger, what do we reckon? Look, it's a lot of money. 80 odd grand, I just think, is a heap of coin. But when you look at the interior, it's actually quite a nice place to be seated. I think the hybrid system could do with a bit of punch. I'd love to see the drivetrain out of the Lexus RX in this. That's got a really punchy turbocharged engine, coupled with a hybrid system. I reckon that'd go all right. So, but look, if you look at your alternatives, for about 80 grand, you're getting into the territory of Prado, Everest, all those sort of ute-based four-wheel drives, or those sort of more hardcore off-road four-wheel drives. And if you don't need that, this is giving you just as much room inside and a fairly sort of economical drivetrain as well. So let me know what you reckon in the comments section below. Is it too expensive? What have you looked at instead of this? I'm keen to see what you think. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon button. Until next time, take it easy.